Sonic Mania, upon release in August of 2017, was met with critical and commercial acclaim. People seemed to really enjoy the game, and it was marked as one of the best, if not the best, Sonic game ever made. But 4 years later, does it still hold up? Well, that is the question that we have today. And with that in mind, let's dive right into the review. So, as may be clear to many of you, this is my first review on this channel. And with that in mind, I'm going to have to explain my format for my reviews. So, I usually like to split each and every game review into 3 different categories. These being presentation, which can be visual as well as overall the audio and music of the game, gameplay/game design. These kind of go hand in hand and just focus on levels, or if it's an open world game, just kind of the open world aspects as a whole. And then finally, story. And of course, depending on the game, these will change. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. What is the presentation of Sonic Mania? The presentation of Sonic Mania is truly classic and very special. The art style is super colorful and just looks really nice. While it is a bit pixelated, it makes sense for it to be pixelated based on the fact that it is trying to replicate the classic Sonic games, which based on the consoles they were on were of course pixelated. The color is just so nice to look at, and it makes the game super special in that regard, of course. And the music is really, really good. This is one of my favorite soundtracks in all of gaming. I wish that I could just plug in my headphones and just listen to the entire soundtrack from start to finish, because it is that good. Overall, the presentation of the game, like I said, is probably the best part of this game, which is why in this specific category, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. But moving right on into gameplay and game design, Sonic Mania is a little bit more difficult to rate. Now, the game design and gameplay are, you could say, very different from one another. Gameplay-wise, it is definitely a Sonic game. Run around, jump around, perform a spin dash, it's all here. All from the classic Sonic games, of course. And it all feels really nice. I don't really have a problem with the controls at all, and just overall, the game feels really good. But then, going into the level design, it's a little bit more hit and miss. I think that this game has a lot of really great levels, but similar to Sonic 3, there are also a lot of mediocre stages. And these include Flying Battery Zone, Titanic Monarch Zone, Metallic Madness Zone, and a few others. Now, these zones aren't necessarily bad, but they just aren't really as fun. And this is especially weird because some of the worst zones in the game are popped right next to each other. For example, Metallic Madness Zone, Volcanic Reef Zone, and Titanic Monarch Zone are the last 3 levels in the game, and it makes the ending a bit of a slog to go through. Now, this is fine, of course. It seems that most video game endings have a weird little "I hope that this is finished soon" aspect to them, but I just feel like this game didn't really need to have that aspect with it, and instead they could have added one more really great zone instead of just ending off with 3 mediocre ones. But overall, the gameplay feels really, really nice, and while I do have some complaints about mediocre zones, I still really like the gameplay, and the game design is good enough to where I can't really complain. Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant Zone, Studiopolis Zone are all incredible stages, and even some of them that may not seem fun at first turn out to be a blast. Example of these include Hydro City Zone, as well as Press Garden Zone. And finally, we are moving on to the final category, which is story. And by the way, my gameplay game design score would probably be an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. But once again, diving right into story, Sonic Mania doesn't really have much of a story. Now, this is fine, of course, because similar to the older Sonic games, it doesn't really need to have one. It doesn't need to have a great story to stand out, because again, the gameplay and game design is just that good. But this is still a little bit disappointing, and I wouldn't have minded a bit more effort in this department. But since it barely has a story, I would give it an average score of just a simple 5 out of 10. And so overall, we have a 9, an 8, and a 5. Now, typically on average, I'd probably give Sonic Mania a 7.5 out of 10, or somewhere around there. But I don't really feel like doing that. I like to weight my categories a little bit differently for each game. Games like The Last of Us or Uncharted are going to have a lot more focus on story, which is why they would, of course, have a more weighted story category. Sonic Mania doesn't need to have any emphasis on story at all, so therefore the story category doesn't really matter. And since I really enjoyed the presentation of the game and the gameplay was amazing, I'm going to give Sonic Mania a very solid 8 out of 10.